Your kindness is not the problem. The problem is where it is going. You were taught that being kind is always the right move, that generosity is a virtue, that showing up for people, giving without expectation, and making space for everyone around you is what good people do. And so you did all of that. You showed up, you gave, you made space. And somehow you ended up exhausted, undervalued, and surrounded by people who take far more than they return. This is not a coincidence, and it is not your fault, at least not entirely. But there is something happening beneath the surface of your kindness that nobody ever told you about. A dynamic that certain people recognize immediately and others never see until the damage is already done. Your kindness, in the wrong hands, is not seen as strength. It is seen as access, as a resource with no limit, as an open door that was never meant to close. This video is not going to make you cold. It is going to make you precise. Here are the 7 brutal truths about why your kindness is being used against you and what you do about it starting today. Truth 1. Kindness without boundaries is not a virtue. It is an invitation. There is a version of kindness that is genuinely powerful. It is deliberate, discerning, and given from a place of strength. It says yes because it chooses to, not because it cannot say no. And then there is the version most people practice, the kindness that cannot refuse, the kindness that says yes out of guilt, out of fear, of conflict, out of a desperate need to be seen as a good person. That version is not a virtue, it is a vulnerability. Because here is what certain people see when they encounter someone who cannot say no. They do not see generosity, they see availability. They see a resource that replenishes itself regardless of how much is taken, and they take accordingly. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who gives freely without condition will exhaust his treasury and earn contempt rather than loyalty. The same principle applies to your time, your energy, and your emotional availability. Unlimited giving does not inspire gratitude in takers, it inspires expectation. The boundary is not the opposite of kindness. The boundary is what makes kindness sustainable. It is the thing that ensures what you give is actually a gift, and not just something people have learned they can take. My kindness is a choice, not a reflex. I give from strength, not from fear of saying no. Truth 2. People mistake your consistency for unlimited availability. When you show up reliably, when you are always there, always responsive, always willing, you create an expectation. Not because people are malicious, but because human beings adapt to whatever is consistent in their environment. And if you are consistently available, they stop seeing your availability as something special. They start seeing it as something guaranteed. And guaranteed things do not get treated with care. They get taken for granted. Think about the people in your life who have come to expect your help without asking carefully, your time without appreciating it, your support without reciprocating it. They are not necessarily bad people. They have simply adapted to the pattern you established. You trained them to expect this from you, not intentionally, but consistently. The Stoics understood that everything valuable must carry some sense of limitation to be treated as valuable. What is always available is never precious. What appears occasionally, selectively, is remembered and appreciated. This is not a reason to become unreliable. It is a reason to become intentional. To understand that your presence, your time, and your energy are not infinite resources, and that presenting them as if they are does not make you more giving. It makes you less valued. I am consistent in my character, not in my availability. My presence means something because it is not guaranteed. Truth 3. You are teaching people how to treat you every time you accept less than you deserve. Every time you let something slide that should not have been let slide, you send a message. Every time you absorb disrespect without a response, you communicate that disrespect is acceptable. Every time you give more than you receive and say nothing about it, you establish the terms of the relationship. And people learn quickly and thoroughly. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths in all of human psychology, that we are not passive recipients of how others treat us. We are active participants in it. The treatment we accept becomes the treatment we receive. The standard we enforce becomes the standard that is applied. Machiavelli wrote that men will always take from you what they can unless they encounter resistance. This is not a cynical view of humanity, it is an accurate one. Most people are not intentionally testing your limits. They are simply moving until they find a wall. And if you never build the wall, they never stop moving. The old you interpreted silence as kindness. You did not want to cause conflict, so you absorbed what should have been addressed. The new you understands that addressing it is the kindness to yourself and to the relationship. Because a relationship built on one person accepting less than they deserve is not a relationship. It is a slow drain. I set the standard for how I am treated. What I accept becomes what I receive. Truth 4. The kinder you are, the more some people will test how far it goes. Kindness to a certain type of person is not a signal of warmth, it is a signal of softness. And softness, in their framework, is something to be pushed. This is not true of everyone. Most people meet kindness with genuine appreciation, but there is a subset, and you have encountered them, who respond to kindness by pushing a little further, who interpret generosity as an invitation to ask for more, who see your willingness to help as evidence that they can keep asking. And every time you respond to the push with more kindness, the push gets harder, because the pattern is confirmed. The lesson they are learning is that the boundary does not exist, and people without boundaries can be moved indefinitely. This is the dynamic Machiavelli warned about most directly. He wrote that men who are treated with excessive generosity become insolent, not grateful, because the absence of limits removes the need for restraint. They stop managing their behavior because they have learned there is no consequence for not doing so. The answer is not to become unkind. The answer is to let the push meet something solid, not anger, not cruelty, just a limit that does not move, a clear, calm, consistent point beyond which you do not go. The moment they encounter that, the testing stops. My kindness is real, my limits are equally real, both exist. Truth 5. Gratitude is not guaranteed. Some people feel entitled to what you give. You gave. You expected at minimum to be appreciated. What you received instead was more expectation. This is one of the most disorienting experiences a kind person can have. You went out of your way. You sacrificed something: time, energy, money, emotional bandwidth. And the person on the receiving end did not just fail to be grateful, they acted as though it was owed to them, as though your giving was not a gift but a function you were supposed to perform. Entitlement is the shadow side of consistent generosity. When someone has received enough from you without having to give anything in return, they stop registering what they receive as something that came at a cost. It becomes ambient, expected, background. The Stoics had a clear position on this: give without expectation of return, or do not give at all. Not because gratitude is irrelevant, but because anchoring your giving to the expectation of appreciation hands the other person power over your peace. When they do not deliver the gratitude, you feel wronged, and they may not even understand why. The reframe is this: if you give, give because you choose to. If the giving is contingent on appreciation, it is not generosity. It is a transaction that was never agreed to, and the resentment that follows is the consequence of an unspoken contract the other person did not know they were signing. I give by choice, not by obligation, and I give only where it is deserved. Truth 6. Your empathy is being used as a map of your pressure points. This is the one that cuts the deepest. You are empathetic. You feel what other people feel. You notice when someone is struggling and you move toward them rather than away. You take on their pain as something you are responsible for helping to solve. And certain people have learned this about you, not always consciously, but they have noticed that when they express suffering, you respond. When they show vulnerability, you soften. When they imply that your boundary is hurting them, you reconsider the boundary. Your empathy, which is one of the most genuinely valuable things about you, has become a targeting system for the people who know how to use it. They do not need to force anything from you. They simply need to appear to be suffering in the right way. And you move toward them every time. Machiavelli wrote that the greatest manipulation is the kind that does not look like manipulation at all, the kind that makes the target believe they are acting freely out of love when they are actually being moved by design. Your empathy is the mechanism, their performance is the trigger. This does not mean stop being empathetic. It means verify suffering before you respond to it. Watch whether the pain appears consistently or only when you're about to hold a boundary. Watch whether it resolves when you give in. A person in genuine pain wants to get better. A person using pain as leverage needs you to keep responding. My empathy is a gift. I give it to those who are genuinely in pain, not to those who perform it. Truth 7. The people who drain you the most are rarely the ones who appreciate you. This is the pattern you already know, but may not have named. The person you have given the most to, the one who has taken the most of your time, your energy, your grace, your patience, is almost never the one who appreciates you most deeply. The people who value you most are usually the ones who have asked the least from you. The ones who show up for you as much as you show up for them. And yet somehow the majority of your resources keep flowing toward the people who drain them. Because draining people are louder about their needs. Because they create more urgency. Because their problems always seem bigger and more immediate. Because they have learned, consciously or not, that creating enough noise ensures you keep showing up. The Stoics called this misallocation, spending your finite resources on things that return nothing, while the things that would return everything wait quietly for attention that never fully arrives. The audit is simple. Look at where your energy is going. Look at who is receiving the most and returning the least. Then look at who is receiving almost nothing from you, despite deserving far more. The reallocation of your kindness away from the loudest drains and toward the quietest deservers is one of the most powerful decisions you will ever make. I direct my energy toward the people and places that return something worthy of it. Here is what you now know. 1. Kindness without limits is an invitation. Build the boundary that makes your generosity meaningful. 2. Consistency is not the same as unlimited availability. Your presence means something only if it is not guaranteed. 3. You are teaching people how to treat you. Set the standard and enforce it. 4. Some people test how far kindness goes. Let them find something solid when they push. 5. Gratitude is not guaranteed. Give by choice, not by expectation of return. 6. Your empathy is a map of your pressure points. Verify suffering before you respond to it. 7. The people who drain you most rarely appreciate you most. Reallocate your energy accordingly. Your kindness is not a weakness. It never was. But kindness without wisdom is a resource being spent in all the wrong places on all the wrong people. From this moment, you choose where it goes. Drop in the comments which truth hit you hardest. You already know which one it is.